Good morning. It is Tuesday. Welcome to the show. It's the Neal Larson Show. And if you'd like to reach the program, you can send a text to 208-542-1079. That's the Stones Automotive Group call and text line. So, Julie sent me this story, which, reason number 10,972 why I would not live in the UK. Listen to this really quick, and here we go.
Welcome back to GBN Tonight with me, Martin Daubney. Now, the Labour-ran Rushmore Borough Council has sparked outrage by proposing a sweeping injunction that could see Christian street preachers imprisoned for up to 2 years if the injunction is breached, now over claims of causing offence or distress. Now, under the proposed terms, Christians will be banned from praying for individuals, handing out religious leaflets or Bibles by hand, and laying hands on people in prayer, even with their permission.
Okay, so they're looking at a ban on street preachers in the UK. Do I care? Well, I do care, because I care about human beings and freedom and all of that. But the reason I bring this up, you have the lefty pearl clutchers in the United States screaming, yelling, having conniptions over Donald Trump and saying that he is an authoritarian. No, that is authoritarianism. And a little surprising out of the UK. And a question that I would have, actually two questions and possibly more, I reserve the right. The question is, will there be a ban on public Muslim praying? And if not, we all know the answer to that question. The answer to the question is, I highly doubt it. This is about Christian preachers. So if it's only a ban on Christian preachers and Muslims can pray, then why? Why do we parse this out like that? And I think that's a very important question. And it cannot be answered by rational brains, but it certainly is a hallmark of the left. So we have that, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I saw this, the Mountain States Policy Center. I have become a very big fan of this group that they are what they say they are. They are they determine but they examine policy and analyze policy in the Mountain States. And Idaho is one of those in particular. And they have come up, they talk about this. School districts are a maze of numbers and jargon that most citizens cannot easily understand. Even lawmakers and some school officials have difficulty concluding if a district is spending money properly, has the resources it needs to be successful, or is making a difference in the educational outcomes of children. For example, Idaho's largest school district has a budget that is hundreds of pages long, includes 6 different funds and 36 different programs. The budget is readily available for citizen review, but transparency doesn't mean much if it is not understandable. This is why Mountain States Policy Center recommends lawmakers adopt a Public School Transparency Act. I am so all in on this. This simple step would help taxpayers and parents determine whether their local district has enough funds and whether it is properly spending the cash in the classroom. As part of this idea, all public school districts would be required both on the first page of their budget and also on the front page of the district's main website to report 6 simple things. Listen to this. Amount of total dollars, all funds, local, state, and federal, spent by the district that year. And that's number 1. Number 2, amount of total dollars spent per student per year. Number 3, amount and percentage of total dollars allocated to the average classroom. Number 4, average salary and benefits. Number 5, average teacher salary and benefits. Average administrator salary and benefits. And then average teacher salary and benefits. And then finally, the ratio of administrators to teachers to students. And that, I love that. I think that is such a good accountability / transparency piece that would not add great burden to anyone. Why are you picking on educate? I'm not. This is a taxpayer-funded, taxpayer-owned education system. we can have accountability and we can make these sorts of demands. They may not like it. So here's what Mountain States Policy Center did. They went through many, if not all, of the districts in Idaho, and they listed a bunch of metrics. And I want to ask a question of the ether for which there may be good answers. But I'm looking at really two things. The total amount of money spent, I don't really get all hung up on that because there's such varying sizes of districts. So I don't really look at that number too close. But I do look at the resources per student. That's very, very important. And keep in mind, we just the last couple of years went through the battle over parental choice in education, where what do you do with state allocated resources when the final outcome you want is an educated child? Okay. Pay no attention to all the steps in between. We have publicly funded and financed education in K through 12, and the outcome we seek is an educated child at the end. So if you look at that, let's just start with some of the area districts. Blackfoot School District spends just under $12,000 per student with a 17-to-1 student-teacher ratio. So one jumped out to me, Blaine County, almost $23,000 with an 11-to-1 ratio. If you look at Bonneville, District 93, a little over 11,000. Ratio 19-to-1, and let's go all the way down to Pocatello. If we look at Pocatello, they spend just under $14,000 per student, 18-to-1 teacher-student ratio. Idaho Falls School District, $15,300 per student, 18-to-1 ratio. Okay, so that seems like this ratio is anywhere from, I've seen as low as, well, there's one 11-to-1, and a lot of times those are in districts that have very few kids. So you see those ratios come up the bigger the district, but in smaller districts it's lower. But I wanted to hone in on one because I just scrolled through. I wanted to see Madison School District has just under 6,000 kids. Their student-to-teacher ratio is 20-to-1. Their expenditure per child or per student is under $9,000. So that's my question, and I think that's the big golden question here, is why can one school district spend 15, 16, Jefferson School District neighboring them, almost $16,000 per student? It's a bigger district, almost 7,000 kids. But you have Madison that spends only $8,800 per kid. Just a little over half of what the neighboring district spends. Now, there might be school administrators and public school officials out there listening going, we don't want you to talk about this. This is a very uncomfortable conversation. So why do they spend under $9,000 per kid in Madison? Why do they spend over $15,000 in Jefferson? The answer to that is, I have no idea. I really don't know. I mean, you demographically, maybe you got some different things going on, and I'm perfectly open to a good explanation here. But what I don't want to have happen is someone putting forward an explanation and then being done with looking at the rest of it. Because if we can educate kids, and there are districts that spend even less per child, but when you look at the big districts in areas that are pretty middle class, how does one district spend that? Now, I don't want to say that little. It's adequate, so little doesn't do it justice. But how does that happen? Now, you might have a big benefactor that pays for all the facilities. I don't know how that works. So there might be some of those costs that are incurred by the local ag community or people who are very, very generous, and they pay for things that taxpayers otherwise would be paying for. That's a very strong possibility. I think you also have districts where You don't get too hung up on the student-to-teacher ratios because you might have very high parental involvement. They help out in the classroom. They help read to the younger kids. So there might be some offsetting situations there, but the point is it can be done. And if I were the governor or if I were lawmakers and I looked at this wide disparity in cost per child that varies from one district to the next, sometimes even neighboring school districts, start asking questions. Because whatever they're doing in Madison County, and I want to throw out some kudos here to Dr. Jeffrey Thomas, who was for years the superintendent at Madison, and I think it's Superintendent Lords now. They're doing something right. They're taking the resources that the state has. They are educating kids very, very well with it, and they're appearing to be spending it fairly wisely because I believe they're pretty well educated when they get done. So when people say, and for some reason, if you're a liberal and if you're a Democrat, the more money you can spend per child, the better, regardless of outcome. If you can spend more. No, you think I'm being flip here. I'm not being flip. They will say there is a metric that they use, and they talk about Idaho, and they say Idaho's the last state in the nation when it comes to per pupil spending. Okay, well, you're missing something. Where do we rank in terms of education quality? Because that's really we're not there just to spend money on kids. We're there to educate kids. And they forget to mention where Idaho falls in that metric, where the state falls when it comes to that metric. And the truth is, we're about middle of the pack. So we spend among the least. I think we sort of trade places with a few other states, but we're like usually 46th and further down in per pupil spending. But you end that with a comma, not a period. There's more to be told to that. And that more to be told is, however, per dollar, kids are pretty darn well educated in Idaho. They don't want to tell you that story because what that means is we're getting a good value for our dollars when it comes to education. And so when I look at this number, the Mountain States Policy Center, I think there are some, and typically they're probably on the left or they're big government Republicans who look at that. And just those higher numbers, that higher expenditure per pupil, that alone to them is a virtue. Because certainly to spend more per child is more. But here's what I would say to that. If I came to you and I said, I just bought a Honda Accord for $20,000. And someone else said, well, I bought my Honda Accord for $30,000. With the Democrats' philosophy of thinking, they would praise the dude who bought the Honda Accord for the higher price. Tell me I'm wrong. Prove me wrong. All right, it's 8:22 on News Talk 1079. Again, kudos to the Mountain States Policy Center. They're doing a bang-up job here. And I think more light, more scrutiny is always a good thing. We'll be back after this. And good morning. It's 8:26 on News Talk 1079. Neal Larson along with Julie Mason. So, Julie, if you bought a donut for $5 and I bought a donut for $3, which donut's better?
Are they the exact same donut?
Exact freaking same donut.
I'm taking the $3 donut all the time.
See, you don't value donuts very much. Or you'd pay more for your donut.
There are people that will pay more and think they did a better job, but I'm not going to.
Yeah. You know what I did this morning? Speaking while we're on food. I got here. There was one lonesome calorie-free soda in our
There was
fridge.
only one diet soda left?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm not going to name the brand.
Okay.
Because I don't,
We have multiple, by the way.
We do have multiple. Usually we have multiple. And so I went in, and I think it expired in 1997. Because I'm like, that does not taste good.
Is that it right there?
No, I think it's still on my desk in there. I took like one sip, and I'm like, oh, that's terrible. So I'm sure it's probably just a year or two expired. You know what? I used to think that soda would last forever. I don't know why I thought that, but I thought, you know what? It's in a can and it's sealed and it's not going to break down. But no, like soda only lasts maybe a year and a half or two.
Do you know what I did the other day?
What?
I went through my baking cabinet. I threw away my baking powder, my baking soda, my cornstarch. I threw it all away and bought brand new. Because I don't bake enough anymore that I'm going through it.
Oh, gotcha.
At an appropriate speed. Because I don't have kids here anymore, so who am I baking for?
So was it all expired?
I don't know if it was expired or not. I didn't even check. It's just time to refresh. Because if your baking powder's not good, nothing's going to turn out right.
That's true. Get new stuff to go to waste in your cupboard. Right?
I do bake occasionally. I made banana bread this weekend.
I'm totally teasing you. I mean, could you put part of it in the freezer? Like, just, keep enough out to bake with? And
maybe. I don't know. I don't want to go to that kind of effort.
Putting it in the freezer?
Yes, because then I'll forget it was there.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. All right. Welcome back. Have you had a chance to look over that Mountain States Policy Center list of schools?
Oh, no, I told you what I was doing during my break.
I know you're planning a trip with your girlfriend, so yeah. No,
I was really selfish during your monologue. I'm sorry.
That's okay. But I do think, why pay more?
Yeah.
What is there? Wait, is that a Walmart slogan? Why pay more? Some store has
it a tagline?
I think that is a tagline.
Well, if it's not, it should be. That's a marketing strategy because it is really trendy right now on TikTok for women to find dupes. So a cheaper version of something, especially in the beauty care industry.
Yeah.
Like serums that some women pay $130 for an ounce.
Yeah.
And you can get a competing serum made with all of the same ingredients at Walmart for $17.99 per ounce. Like dupes are a big thing. And I'm not going to feel bad.
So do you scratch out the Equate logo on it?
No, I have a generic bottle and I pour it in there.
Oh, you do?
I
Okay,
don't care if somebody sees I have an Equate thing. I don't care.
But you know
Judge
what?
away.
Some people do. Let me ask you a question. Would you, because you're fashion conscious, as am I.
Yes.
What are you laughing at? Anyway, so would you walk around with a pair of jeans if it had the Equate brand on the back of it?
I don't think it'd bother me.
Oh, really?
They don't do that to jeans, but I don't think it would bother me. Women, so into the psyche of those who work out, there is a very expensive brand that's way overrated.
Yeah.
And everyone knows its logo, and it's usually placed right in the center of the back, like on the leggings, right where the waistband is at or whatever.
Yeah.
And there are many dupes for that clothing brand. It's nothing special.
Yeah.
I don't need that logo on there to feel like my workout clothes are appropriate. I don't care.
Yeah.
I just don't care.
I don't care either. I don't care. I remember growing up, though, if you had Payless shoes, that was lesser than if you had Nikes or whatever. Now, as I got older and became an adult, and even when I was a teenager, I realized shoes are something that you kind of get what you pay for. So I do buy name brand shoes, and I have name brand shoes now because I do think they do last longer. And so there are some things when the name brand really does carry with it higher quality. But I think there's a lot of name brands that aren't any better in quality than what you get at the store, particularly when it comes to food.
Yeah, I don't understand why paying more gives something virtue. It's only accurate in certain metrics, and those are limited metrics. So when we go to education, just because you spend more per pupil doesn't mean you're doing it correctly.
Right. Yeah, circling back now to education. Yes, you're right. But that's how they view it. They're like, if you spend more on the education, you're getting more on the education. That's just not true. That just doesn't, it's not automatically true. Now, maybe it is, because super superior education is going to cost more. But if you're looking at the mass production education that is the best, or that's the highest expectation that we can have of a government that's educating hundreds of thousands of kids in Idaho. Right now, we're at about 250,000 kids that we educate. They're not all going to get a world-class, what's that big private school in D.C. that all the snooty people something of Friends, like, you know what I'm talking about.
I don't want my kids there, but go right ahead.
I don't either. They'll grow up to be snooty elites too, and I wouldn't want that. But the K through 12, public K through 12 probably can't offer that. But you can get kids ready for college and a life of success.
Oh, yeah.
So when you look at that, is our education, are you satisfied with an Equate brand version of our education? Or do you have to have I don't even know what a top name brand is.
Of education?
Yeah.
Well, like Harvard used to be the gold standard, right? Even among like elite colleges, there's even a tiered system. Like Brown University, people mock it. And I'm like, it is so hard to get into Brown University, but you guys sit here and mock it.
Right.
That doesn't make any sense. I fully believe it's not the education that makes a person. It's the attribute that makes the person.
The reason they mock it, they're conflating it with the Cleveland Browns.
Oh, is that what it is?
That's the problem.
And they just brought on Sanders, and that's not going to work so well for them.
That's true. That's going to turn out badly. Sorry. Go on.
I do believe this is switching around. And I think part of it is based off the conversation we were having yesterday, that it's a brave new frontier.
Yeah.
Jobs don't look the same. Things are different. Those who think outside of the box generally are ahead of everyone else.
Yeah.
And so if you go to a university and you get duped that if I'm here for 6 years and I take these classes and I have $190,000 in debt, somehow it's going to be great for me. You're the failure there.
Yeah.
I hope it works for you, but that's not the best program.
You weren't taught how to think.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to the phones. Hi, caller. How are you?
Hi. I hit this topic that you're talking about here in my book update. I'm coming out with Why American Healthcare is Broken, an update to the book I wrote in 2016. And because I'm talking about a government-controlled business, I also made the comparison to education, the other big government-controlled business. Idaho, the data I came up with from 2022, Idaho spent $8,748 per student. New York spent $30,282 per student. Idaho's scores in math were 282, New York 274. And reading, the score in Idaho was 264. In New York, it was 262. And so, I made the point that Idaho is just more efficient in its education spending. How could they possibly be expected to educate a kid for a paltry $30,000 per year in New York? Right. It's very clear. It's a matter of efficiency.
Yeah, I would agree. And thank you for the call. Good luck with the book.
Yeah.
I would say even though within Idaho, we can look at, and like I did in the monologue, you can do a district by district comparison. And when you see Madison district educating their kids for about $9,000 a year versus neighboring Jefferson district at $15,000 a year, are the Jefferson, clearly that extra money is not going into their driver's ed program.
And if it is, disband the program.
Look, that was too easy. All right, that was low-hanging fruit there. It was too easy to say that. But what I would say is, do you get twice? Well, let me phrase it like this. Is your education only half as good in Madison County as it is in Jefferson? I would venture to say no. I bet you get roughly equivalent education. So why is it $15,000 in Jefferson and $9,000 in Madison?
Well, you have plenty of metrics to look at, too. Like, what are your graduation rates? What are your go-on rates? What are your ACT scores? Because I still think, it's been a minute since I've had kids in school, but I think they're still required to take that when they're juniors. Like, you have metrics to compare.
Yeah.
And so This doesn't seem to be that hard to figure out. So then if Jefferson County and Madison County school districts have similar outcome rates, the question is, why are they able to run it much more efficiently in Madison than they are in Jefferson? And that needs to be incredibly transparent to the taxpayers and to the parents so that they know, well, why are you spending all of that extra money on this? And figure it out.
Yeah.
That's the best part of transparency is everyone actually gets better.
Yes, you're right. They do. Why is there such an aversion to accountability in K through 12? We don't want to destroy your system. It's our system. We want to make it better.
Yeah, we want great educated kids.
We want to look and see. And we're not saying that the cost has to be identical from one district to the next. We get, like when the last caller called in and was talking about New York education versus Idaho, if you created the exact same education system and you transplanted it from Idaho to New York, it's going to be more expensive in New York anyway because you have to pay higher taxes. Mm-hmm. You have to pay your teachers more because it's the cost of living is just higher. So I don't have this expectation that an equivalent education is going to warrant an equivalent cost. But Jefferson to Madison, that disparity, and I would venture to say pretty much every area in Idaho is roughly the same, save maybe Blaine County. And
you have a couple of outliers.
Yeah, a couple of outliers there. But for the most part, there's just such a wide range. It's many percentage points separated.
Yes, yeah. I don't know. I don't know why people are so adverse to transparency. I think that as a whole, I think I can universally say this about superintendents. It's kind of their little baby, right?
Yeah.
Their district is, in some cases, a gigantic baby that you're nurturing. Mm-hmm. And they're really proud of what they do.
Yeah.
So my request would be, well, let's obviously have pride in what you do. And I think multiple school districts that we're affiliated with in this area do some really great things.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you can't improve. By having transparency and looking at ways that you can make it better is not a commentary on how bad of a job you're doing.
Yeah.
It's these dollars are, I don't want to use the word sacred because that has such a high level to it.
Yeah.
But these dollars that you get need to be treated carefully.
Yeah, I mean, it's sacred adjacent in my mind because it represents the hard work of Idahoans and taxpayers. And, you work hard. Mm-hmm. You go to work every day. And what the dollars are doing, which is educating your kids, that's sacred, too. I mean, that's a process.
The actual outcome of the kid is the most sacred part in all of this.
Yes, I agree.
So that would just be my request of superintendents is let's figure out. There are going to be some districts that you can't get down to Madison County's level. You just aren't going to be able to. But if you could reduce that cost per student by $1,000, why wouldn't you do that and spend that money somewhere else?
So can I float an idea by you? What if you created a baseline, like the legislature came along and said, here's what we think is a reasonable amount that you should spend per student. Some districts are going to be over that. You might have a few that are under it, but some are going to be over that. And say every dollar that you can bring that towards the baseline, 50 cents of that, half of it, can go for teacher raises.
Mm-hmm. Would that be enough incentive?
Well, I think you would absolutely revolutionize the culture in education if teachers were going to be benefited by it. Look, I could look at it and go, well, let's just reduce it by $1 then. But if your point is, let's just reduce it by $1, you're going to get all sorts of pushback. I promise you, they can come up with all sorts of reasons why they need to keep spending way more money. Mm-hmm. You and I have been around the block a time or two.
Yep.
They're going to find 1,000 reasons why they need the money and to keep spending it. But if you create a culture where you're incentivizing the savings of that money and it goes directly to the people who we say would love to pay more so they can get paid more, then you have revolutionized that culture. You're going to have teachers saying, we need to save money because every dollar we can save, 50 cents of that will go toward added teacher pay.
Yeah, I'm great with incentives. We've talked about this in a lot of government programs. I am great with that. I would also challenge everybody that if you are affiliated, like you have grandkids or kids or whatever in a large school district in Idaho,
Yeah.
I promise you've had the conversation somewhere along the lines of, that administrator so-and-so, we don't even know what they do. Yet that administrator is probably, it's a district position.
Yeah.
And they're making $92,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
When almost exclusively people can say that, there's stuff to be trimmed.
So to that point, there is a column on this Mountain States Policy Center report that is percentage of full-time equivalents who are teachers. Basically, you're saying how many of the people that you hire full-time are in the classroom actually educating our kids. Yep. I am actually, don't look at the numbers. I know you're looking at your screen. And forget what you just saw.
I didn't get to it, so I'm still completely blank.
If I asked you, what do you think that number one is and what it should be, what would your two answers be?
Oh, you know what? I have no idea. I do not know. I would hope it's above 60%, but I'm going to guess it's far below that.
I'll just rattle off the top 5 here. 43%, 38%, 42%, 41%, 47%. The first one that gets above 50%, Blaine County, 54%.
So they have more teachers than all the others.
And it shows their teacher-to-student ratio is 11-1, which is a lot closer than a lot of the
smaller
districts.
Classes.
Bliss at 55%.
Okay. So we didn't even have a school district get to 60.
Ignorance isn't bliss after all. Those people are well educated.
They got their stuff together in Bliss.
Yeah.
I'm sure that if we were interviewing somebody from a school district, they're saying, look, your full-time employees are also including administration. It's also including what do they call them? Auxiliary staff or like aides. They have a different name. Paraprofessionals. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So the paraprofessionals. Remember, these are full-time employees. You probably aren't going to be able to count the most of the cafeteria staff, the bus drivers, anything like that.
Yeah.
They're not full-time employees. So if you're pushing back against what we're saying, remember, not everybody gets to be full-time.
So my question, do 2 half-time employees equal 1 full-time?
That's a good question here. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. Because you would have 2 bus drivers could create 1 full-time position.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. There are a handful of districts that get above 50%. I would say your basement on this, your floor should be 50%. You should have at least 50% of your people as teachers. And if you're not, you're top heavy or side heavy with too many other ancillary. There might be a good explanation in some districts, like highly rural districts need a lot of bus drivers.
Yes.
So that would make sense in some cases. So,
okay.
All right. I talked all the way through.
How many minutes?
There we go. We'll begin anew. The bumper music. It's 8:47 on News Talk 107.9.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Hey, it's Brad from Now 105.1 and QP99. I'm in the studio here. I love our studios, by the way. Ranger Rick back there. There's Neal and Julie doing their thing. Hey, when you want to advertise on the radio, what do? You call the radio station, right? But what do you do when you want to advertise on Facebook and Instagram and Hulu and Disney Plus and Peacock and the other TV streaming services? You can kind of click around on them and make guesses or read books or take courses online on how to do that advertising. Or you could call us at the radio station. At Sandhill Media, we take care of your local radio and digital marketing. So reach out to us at sandhillmediagroup.com and we'll make sure that your message gets heard and seen wherever your customers are.
8:52, Neil Larson along with Julie Mason. And Julie and I just solved all the efficiency issues in public education during this last commercial break.
It was Doge on hyperspeed.
That's true. Well, I asked Julie the hypothetical question, And I come at this with not fully knowing how it all works. All right, so I'll lead with that. But does every school district have a payroll? Like, do they do their own payroll? And if they do they need to? Or can the state create that and issue the... Most people are on direct deposit anyway. They don't even need a check.
Yeah.
So,
can that form be...
Yes. Could the payroll be centralized to you?
Right.
I mean, obviously you're going to have human resource issues that have to be dealt with.
I would say there is a lot of complication because you're talking about individual schools and then departments like the bus, the transportation, everything.
Yeah.
So I don't know the answer, but I think it's a question worth asking. Also, people are asking questions in the text saying, well, what if Madison County doesn't subsidize any of their sports programs?
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you that the school district my kids went to, I paid for all of their sports.
Yeah.
So that school district was at Madison County, and there wasn't this extra money going to sports. I don't think in general your child is getting a lot of extra money in sports.
I think most districts are pay to play.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So...
but I appreciate people asking that question, trying to figure out what's the disparity between Madison County and other districts.
Yeah, and someone said, I think there is a little more nuance than just purely Madison versus Jefferson. Jefferson County has a much, much larger area than Madison. There have been at least 2 newer schools built. Well, I think Madison had 1. I think with West Jefferson, Rigby, and Ryrie, there are more facilities to cover. Now, does that equate to almost doubled? I don't know, but transparency would absolutely show if we are getting what we pay for.
Again,
agreed.
Great questions.
I'm totally open to it costing more because there's probably defensible reasons why it costs more. I'm not expecting identicality, but I am saying it's almost double.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Mm-hmm. We'll be back. It's 8:55. And good morning. It's 9:07 on News Talk 107.9. Julie, did you see the meme of the smoke coming out of the Vatican and it was orange?
Yeah.
Come on. That's funny.
It is funny.
That's funny. Mm-hmm. And, oh, no, that's an offense to the Catholic, the sacred rituals of the Catholic Church. Anyway, no, that's just funny. Also,
we saw pictures of them meeting this morning.
Yes, we did.
Mm-hmm.
We did.
So it's underway.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it was you and I had this conversation. My brain's been a little bit foggy. Where I think it would be great if the like hospitals, every time they have a baby, they emit either blue smoke or pink smoke.
Yes, yeah. We talked about this.
I think it would be fun.
I think that would be fun, but someone is going to be offended.
Oh, you know what? I think, you know what you need to have someone get offended? You know, there's one ingredient that you need for someone to be offended. Somebody else needs to be having a good time. And if you have that, you definitely will have someone offended.
Yes, you will.
That's the only precursor necessary.
Yeah.
How can I spoil this?
Yeah, because we're really bad as a culture at this point, letting other people celebrate and enjoy themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
very
it's
bad
true.
at it. Mm-hmm.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. The Tyson, they're removing. They're going to take I saw this, Julie. Let's talk about chicken for just a minute. Because who doesn't want to talk about chicken? Do you like chicken?
Oh, I like chicken.
Yeah, chicken's good.
Yeah.
So Tyson's removing the artificial dyes from their chicken. And they're going to do it in like a month. This is not going to be like a 8-month process. No, they're going to turn around in a month and take out the artificial dyes in their chicken. And several people in the comments said, if it was this easy, why haven't they done it before? Mm-hmm. Like, what is the why? Why?
I'm okay with them asking that question because I think that gets us to the end result of why is all of this stuff in there anyway. Mm-hmm. If for Fruit Loops, because that's the example that's used all the time online, that Canadian Fruit Loops are actually a different color than American Fruit Loops. Yep. Same cereal, everything's the same except for the coloring.
Yeah.
If that's what it is, just say that's what it is.
Yeah.
But explain if other countries can get the same product without it. What's the need for it? And I don't have a problem with people asking that question of big companies.
Right. And it is, Let me form hypothetical answers because I don't know the real answer. Would they say, well, marketing, kids like bright cereal. Like it's fun to open that box of Fruit Loops and have your purples and your oranges and your yellows be really vibrant. And so kids like it and it's exciting. Not only that, if they have that good experience when they open it up, they're like, that's what I want again. It's just like social media. They put things in there to like spike your dopamine a little bit with a 1,000 different factors. I think the same is true of cereal, that they've created these bright colors because that's one more little added thing that endears you to that cereal.
And somehow it's supposed to taste better because it's bright pink instead of muted pink.
But, well, yeah, I guess.
Where I think that this question would be valuable, and remind me about cereal boxes later, but where I think this question that you're asking would be valuable is that there are products in America that have chemicals in it that triggers your body to want to eat more of it. It's actually scientific.
Yeah.
I know for certain because my kids love Takis. It has a chemical in it. Takis have a chemical in them that makes you go, I want another handful. I want another handful.
Yeah.
I want another handful. It's understandable why a company would put that in there because then they sell more Takis.
Right.
It can't be good for us. At a bare minimum, it's making us fat.
I would agree with that.
So if that's the reason the chemical's in there, you got to be honest and get it out of there.
Yeah. I think it also makes you charming and hilarious because I eat Takis too. So I've had.
They are bad for you.
I know they are bad. I haven't had Takis in a while, but I will say I've had that experience where you eat it and like it's excruciating to your mouth and you can't wait to have more. No, I'm not lying. I'm not lying.
Masochist.
I am, but I get the same thing from jalapenos too. Like it's not excruciating, but I will sit there and eat like sliced jalapenos. Just. Can I make a confession?
Sure.
Because I did food prep just a couple of days ago. And I make these breakfast burritos that might have 3 carbs in them and close to 30 grams of protein. And they're amazing. But I put jalapenos on. I may or may not have, I didn't this last time, but in the past, I may or may not have consumed some of the jalapeno juice. Like,
oh my goodness.
Drank it to taste it.
Your poor insides.
My mouth is watering right now thinking about it.
Oh my goodness.
It is delicious and it's excruciating. Look,
are we still talking about
what?
Like this could go off the rails.
No, go ahead.
No, I look, I would never do it.
Yeah.
I will say this. I think you should look into what jalapenos do to your pH balance. I was watching a nurse talk about your pH balance the other day.
Yeah.
And she was advocating that you drink lemon water every day because it has acid in it and the acid will level your pH balance because that's what pH is, right? You either have too much or too little. I wonder what jalapenos do to that. Maybe it's actually a really good thing.
Maybe. It might. I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing.
Yeah, like maybe you're adding enough acid and leveling your pH that you're stopping cancer.
Have you ever drunk pickle juice?
I don't like pickles enough to do that. I don't hate pickles. I just don't love them enough to drink the juice.
Okay. Yeah.
I do love lemon juice.
Vinegar?
I've drank vinegar and wow. Apple cider vinegar is whew.
Well, I saw this reel. And everybody knows everything on the internet's true. So, but they said if you take like a teaspoon of vinegar and you mix it in your like a cup of water, and it can be even a bigger than a cup of water, that it does wonders for like your blood sugar. And now I haven't done the research on it, but I think people swear by having vinegar in their water, and it's barely you can barely taste it.
So this is what that nurse was talking about, that the reason we need the extra acid is because we eat diets that shove us too far the other way. So it's our poor diet that's pushing us to the other way. So when you hear people say, well, sugar causes cancer, that's because it's changing the makeup of your body. And these acidic things bring it more back into balance.
Okay. got that.
Yeah, I don't know. I would look it up. I would look it up and see what jalapeno juice does.
So another whole string of this kind of video, and sorry, we are meandering just a little bit topically, but I've seen video after video of the benefits of an extended fast now and then.
Yeah.
And they're talking like a 3 to 5 day fast where all you have is just water. If you drink coffee, you can have coffee. And there are a few things you can drink, but you can't eat anything. And after so many hours, it tips you. Obviously, you go into ketosis, but then there's another phase of it that's very beneficial. I can't remember the name of it. But then there's yet another one where stem cells start being produced, and it spawns all sorts of healing throughout your body. Now, I will say, I watch this and I'm like, that just feels too good to be true. Like I maybe it isn't, but it feels like it's too good to be true. But these people that have had problems with their joints or certain ligaments or whatever, or even, some people have even said cancer. I want to be careful because I'm not making a claim or an assertion here. I'm saying what the claims and assertions are on social media. That if you do this, then there really is the result of that is you'll get the healing that you're seeking. So I don't know if it's true or not. Mm-hmm. Never tried it.
Yeah, I think isn't it important that you add salt to the water?
Oh, maybe.
I think so. I think in order for the body to function at a level, I think the water has to have salt in it. Could you do it? Could you do 36 hours?
I could do that. If I can drink water, I could go a long time. Yeah.
I think I could do it too. Now, do I want to do it? It's the same thing with cold plunging. Could I do it? Yes. Do I want to do it? Probably not.
Yeah. However, the people that do it, they say after about 24 hours, your cravings go away and you start to feel really good because you've tipped into fat burning mode. Mm-hmm. So you actually have, you have a source of energy and your cravings are gone and you're fine after a certain point. Mm-hmm. You're not hungry the whole time.
Do you know what I'd love to know? A couple of questions to that. Is it the same for men and women? Because the body makeup is completely different. Mm-hmm. And as a subcontext to the women, at what age is it okay for a woman to do it? Because your hormone levels are different depending upon what age you are. And then another thing that I would ask is, what does the body composition need to be? Like if somebody is at their ideal weight, should they be sustaining 36 hours without food? Or is it better for people who are carrying an extra 10 pounds or an extra 12 pounds?
Yeah.
Like those would be questions I would want to know.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if somebody is teetering right there and like underweight,
right,
what does their body do during all of that?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but I would think if you're just doing one fast every few months, you're fine.
You're probably okay.
Yeah, unless your body fat percentage is down to almost nothing, you're still going to be. You don't need it to lose weight, but if you're seeking healing, I'm guessing a doctor would say you'd be fine to try it. So.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Someone just said they intermittent fast and their eyesight has gotten better. The glucose was at like 125, now it's at 85. And a 5-hour eating window, 5 to 10 p.m.
Okay.
Somebody else said black olive juice. So I have a funny story about black olive juice. Mm-hmm. Almost every year, around Thanksgiving or Christmas, my mom, this was when my dad was still alive, my mom, as they were preparing the food and the meal, Dad would be probably watching football or talking to grandkids or whatever. Mom would very discreetly pour all the black olive juice into a glass and then put ice cubes in it and then take it over to my dad and say, "Here, do you want some soda?" And he fell for it almost it was just very, very funny.
I would drink black olive juice.
Yeah.
I love olives, so I'd be okay with that. I wonder if there's health benefits to it.
I don't know. I don't know if I've ever tried the juice, but I might.
Mm-hmm. I would probably do that.
I love black olives, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, 9:20.
Okay, let me tell what I thought about cereal boxes this morning.
Oh, yeah.
So you hear teachers, anyone that works with the youth, and this was based off of a story. I can't remember which state it is, but they are banning cell phone hours for kids. Like if your hours tip past a certain amount on the internet on your cell phone shuts off or something like that.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Utah passed a curfew with cell phones for kids.
Okay.
So a parent can override it. But cell phones are sold with a chip installed that it doesn't work from like 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. or something like that on the internet. Okay.
Yeah.
So they were going over this, and they were interviewing a teacher that was talking about how kids have been so programmed into phones and screens that they don't interact well with a human anymore. Like when she's teaching, she can't even get them to pay attention to what she's saying.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And she referenced that they start with their screens from the second they wake up. They don't even eat breakfast without looking away from their screen. They're eating breakfast, scrolling. And I thought in my head, you really can tell those people that didn't enjoy that time sitting there eating a bowl of cereal and reading the back of the cereal box. Like, that is a generational thing.
Yeah.
We read the back of the cereal box more than once because that's the only thing you had in front of you while you were eating your cereal.
Oh, yeah. That was yes.
So you can tell because if we had the attention span to read the back of the box of the cereal more than once.
Yeah.
These kids can't even go through the same video. My kids used to play the first 45 seconds of a song and switch immediately. I'm bored. I want a new song.
Yeah.
They can't even make it through an entire song.
Oh, I know. Yeah. It's true.
We need to get back to the generation of reading the back of a cereal box.
Yeah. There's also kind of a corollary to this. So I've heard that in the bathroom, you read product labels when you have a few spare minutes. Like, that's what I've heard.
Only for men.
Okay, quick break. We'll be back. It's 9:22 on News Talk 107.9. Like, you need reading material. Like, and if it's the back of a shampoo bottle, then so be it.
What really is a Neosporin?
Haven't you ever wondered?
Somebody said they've done a 4-day fast, only water and black coffee. They go on to say, I would not recommend it during the week. I would do a weekend because the hunger comes and goes. So does the energy.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to make it through a work day or whatever, maybe don't do it then.
Yeah. I'm going to ask them, did you see lasting benefits? That's a little crazy about the Newark airport.
Yeah.
Losing contact. That'd be frightening.
Oh, like cramping like your muscles. James says pickle juice is great for cramping.
Oh, yes, I've heard that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Lisa says, just eat an entire jar of pickled jalapenos. You're not hungry for days.
Yeah, I'm sure there's lots of lasting.
Residual effects.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. But is anybody else like me? Have you ever drank the jalapeno juice? I don't know why I did. It just looked good. And I'm like, oh, I crave. Like, even talking about it, my mouth is watering. Like, I love jalapenos that much. So in my food prep, I needed 24 slices of Swiss cheese for my meatball.
To have it all
wraps,
equal out. Mm-hmm.
But there were only 16 in the package. So we had some string cheese in the fridge. So I got 8 things. It's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's very...
Does it melt?
Yeah.
Does string cheese melt?
Really well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had that question yesterday when you were making the hollowed out.
Oh, yeah, the meatball subs.
Yeah. How well does it melt?
Good.
Okay.
Yeah, mozzarella has a pretty low melting point. So it melts pretty quick. And, I mean, it's been in the oven at 350 for like 20 plus minutes. So,
okay.
So, yeah, it comes out very melty.
What?
Read the entire message before reading on the air. Better yet, don't read it on the air. I tried the jalapeno juice drink, too, when I was in the military. Oh, we got to go on. Just read the rest of it. 9:25 on News Talk 107.9. The program's brought to you by our good friends at Town and Country Gardens. Rex and crew, they've got loads of expertise, Julie, in addition to loads of hanging baskets and vegetables and plantable flowers and all the stuff that you need for your lawn, like mulch and soil and rocks and whatever you need. They have it at Town and Country Gardens.
Trees. When we were there, the other day, right before their Firefly event, as we were walking out, there was somebody buying a bare root tree. And I'm like, I remember those bare root trees, because Rex talked to us about how some of the bare root trees in this area, that's the knowledge you're getting. Some of the bare root trees in this area take way better than a potted tree. And so that's why you need to go in there and talk to the experts, because you're going to figure out what's going to work best in your yard. You don't want to buy a tree and have it die.
Well, no, they know how to help you. You know what I would do too? This is amazing that they do this and can do this. Take pictures before you go there. Like, go to your yard and say, I want a tree for this corner, or I want to put it right here. Is that going to be a problem? Or if you have something growing on your leaves, take a picture of it, and they can help you. And they're like, well, that's the rust, which is a fungus or whatever. Yeah, we can help you with that. And just take pictures of what you need, and they can help you out.
Yeah, they're great friends. Town and Country Gardens. They are south of Idaho Falls, across from the malting plant on Yellowstone Highway.
Yeah. Okay. 208-542-1079. And we'd love to have you on the program this morning. Julie, some Russian space junk is about to enter the atmosphere.
I did not know this. Where's it going to land?
Well, they're not quite sure.
Is part of it going to burn up as it re-enters?
There's a problem. It was designed to withstand atmosphere re-entry, because 50-some years ago, the Russians launched it headed to Venus. But something went wrong with the launch, and it entered this really wide Earth orbit. And it's just gradually, the orbit has brought it closer and closer to the Earth. And soon, sometime in the next couple of days, it's going to be so close to Earth in its orbit that the atmosphere is going to grab it.
And it'll bring it in.
And it'll suck it in. And but they're not quite sure where. And they think it's likely to land in the ocean, just because most of the Earth is covered by ocean. So anyway, although speaking of that, it'll probably create a nice little fireball somewhere. Over the weekend, I saw on multiple local social media sites that a big fireball was spotted over the weekend, like maybe Saturday night, one of the nights. And people all over saw this thing. And there were even reports like in Montana and maybe Utah and Wyoming that it was apparently very impressive. I didn't see it, but a lot of people apparently did.
Okay. I was going to ask, do I need to beef up my insurance policy on my house? Because I'm sure destroyed by Russian space junk is not in the
That right.
the rules of my insurance policy.
I wouldn't worry about it if I were you. I mean, there is a tiny sliver of a chance, but I don't.
So you're saying there's a chance?
It's so close to zero. I don't think you need to call your insurance agent at any time soon. So. All right. It is 9:30, and the number to call, 208-542-1079. Neil Larson, along with Julie Mason. Julie, there's rumbles that Kamala Harris may be eyeing a comeback. And, I hope it's true.
Go for it.
I love this. I might donate to her campaign if it'll make her more likely to wage a comeback.
I was gonna say, did she finally complete the 12-step program so she's ready to re-enter?
Maybe. I don't know. We love you, Kamala. Yeah. So what are they thinking?
I think they're not. I think that they're really struggling finding a candidate that can fulfill any kind of an option for them. And so it's like having to go to your third string quarterback and they're no good.
Yeah.
But you go to them anyway because you don't have anybody else. Wasn't it the 49ers a couple of seasons ago that they had so many? Brock Purdy was hurt. And they actually played, was it Christian McCaffrey? They put him in as quarterback. That's where they're at.
I heard they almost brought back Joe Namath. But yeah. No, you're right, though.
They just don't have anybody to play the position currently.
So now keep in mind, it is CBS News that's reporting it. So it's likely not true.
Yes.
No, Democrats divided over a 2028 Kamala Harris comeback. Sky News digital presenter Gabriella Power says some Senate Democrats believe former U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris can receive the party's 2028 presidential nomination if she, quote, plays it right. What? Senate Democrats are said to be divided over a 2028 comeback by Kamala Harris after she lost all 7 battleground seats. By the way, she lost all 7 battleground seats as the sitting vice president.
Yeah.
If she runs in 2028, she won't be the sitting vice president, and she will have the reputation of having lost and been humiliated.
A failed candidate.
So she's not even the same. She won't even be as strong as she was in 2024.
What does play your cards right mean? Did she play them right in 2024? Let that man have no soul or heart and let a dementia-ridden man?
I don't. There's no way.
Yeah, what does play your cards right mean?
There is no way. Many say she could still secure the nomination if she plays it right.
Okay.
There is no play.
There's no play. But go right ahead. Hey, we'll enjoy it.
She has nothing to... What does she have?
Us and Caroline Leavitt will celebrate it because she said the same thing. Go right ahead.
Yeah.
That makes Caroline's job, like when they're putting together pieces of... She can just sit there and compare the Biden administration over and over, because you can do that from the press as the press secretary.
Well, I will say, look, in 3 years, we will be in earnest in the midst of a presidential race. It'll be in 3 years. It will be the primary season, and we'll decide. I still think we've had a couple of years in the last decade or so where we had 15 to 20 candidates running. Mm-hmm. I don't think we're going to have that in 2028, even if Trump's not running. I think Trump is smart enough. He's going to maneuver it, and enough promises will be given to keep people out. And you'll have some yahoos that will give it a shot, like, I don't know, John Kasich or... I mean, there's a number of yahoos out there that still think they have some fuel in their tank, but they won't go anywhere. It'll be probably either J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio, maybe Ron DeSantis. I think it's going to be one of those three. And we already know that 3 years ahead. They are out scrounging under every rock. They're looking under rocks they've already looked under multiple times, hoping there's something new there. And they can't find anything that is going to match MAGA in 2028, the MAGA heir apparent.
Yeah, they're evaluating who can we rebrand, because they can't run anybody on their current brand.
No.
They have to rebrand them. So that's now the question, not who's got the skill set. The question is, who can we rebrand and make the country believe they have the skill set? What a pathetic offering it's going to be.
Well, it is going to be a pathetic offering. And I know this sounds over the top because we're so locked into how things have been. Like, it's Republicans versus Democrats, and that's what the American political system is all about. I think Donald Trump is so good at altering the DNA. It's possible that a new party will have to be created for what I would call the sane left.
How wild would that be?
It would be crazy, but I think they could act, and don't think they're not talking about it. Mm-hmm. I mean, already the Democrat Party it's just been completely hijacked by the crazies. Mm-hmm. And I think you're going to have somebody, and it might have to be led by people like Bill Maher and Van Jones and, kind of these liberals that recognize why the party is in complete shambles and launch something new and different. If they can't get their crap together in the next year and a half, I don't know.
Could be the option.
Anything could happen. Let's go to the phones. 208-542-1079. Hi, caller. How are you?
Good. How about you?
Good.
You were talking earlier about education. I was just kind of wondering, how come we've never had arithmetic state champions or compare schools or, English? We could do it on literature, debate, all of that. State champions.
That we do. There are state debate.
Yeah, there's
tournaments,
debate tournaments.
Yeah, but if they were to look at the test scores or the scores that you guys are looking at and everything like that,
Yeah.
and have overall state champions, I think, enthusiasm, the money put towards it and everything, we'd see results.
Yeah. You might. Like, are you comparing? I'm trying to read your motive for the point that you're making. Are you saying that because we have athletic state championships and they're pretty highly visible, we should have academic state championships that get as much attention? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, I got you. I think, because pointing out an ad hominem attack is not as sexy as a slam dunk. I think that might be one of the reasons why.
Well, I could be advertising too, and enthusiasm,
That's true.
I will say this. There are, even in, let's set aside the programs you're talking about and just look at the sports portion of this. Even within that category of just sports, there's more subcategories because sports like football and basketball earn schools money, or at least break even. Sports like baseball, volleyball, you don't get as much fan attendance. Therefore, you're not making ticket sales, but you still have to run the game and pay for the electricity and all of that. So there's even subcategories where some sports get less love than other sports, and it's really driven by the almighty dollar.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the call. I also think, though, you can benefit kids just as much, even though you're not showing up at an arena with 7,000 people. It still benefits the kids to compete on the state level. I think you're getting that benefit out of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, as long as the child is being nurtured in a usable skill for their future, debate is a usable skill. Choir is a usable skill.
Yeah.
This is part of our problem with some of the clubs that are given money, is that what are they actually benefiting the child for their grown-up life?
Yeah.
You're not there for therapy.
Well, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
Can I also say, I think one of the reasons why, and let's be honest, it's basically football and basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the sports that really get the attention of the state, and track and field to some degree, but not even really close to what football and basketball get. I don't think it's a coincidence that the NFL and the NBA spend billions of dollars. They are billion-dollar leagues. You have multi-billion-dollar leagues. You have college basketball and football that are multi-billion-dollar businesses. And so those sports have built-in national marketing that happens, and obviously that filters down into the high schools, and a lot of these high school athletes have hopes of going on. That's what keeps them going in their sport for some of these kids, is the hope that maybe they'll play in college and maybe even beyond that.
Yeah.
So
there's also a lot to be said about becoming really good in whatever you like to do.
Yeah.
So these football teams start when they're young. These basketball leagues start when they can barely dribble the ball, and you're not starting any kind of debate or things like that at a way younger level.
Yeah.
Even choir has a very limited training ability till you get further into your public education. So there are some private ones, but it's not near as prolific as those sports. Yeah. And so that also makes a difference, because you just learning how to do it when you're 4 gives you more confidence, and you keep doing it. And, but you're going to try to join the debate team when you're a freshman in high school. That takes a lot more guts because you haven't ever been doing it.
Yeah, that's true. I'm just thinking of a development chess league. Like,
you started when they're 4.
Did you see that mean castle that he did? That was great.
My kid plays rec chess.
Yes. Yeah. All right. We'll be back. 9:41 on News Talk 107.9. 208-542-1079. What's up?
That's a really good point. Somebody said they do celebrate the academic state champions. They're tied to basketball, football, etc. That absolutely happened. like the golf team has an academic state champion. My son was on the golf team, and they qualified for state. Yeah. Cheer always had an academic state champion along with their regular sport champions. So yeah, they do highlight that at the state championship level.
Yeah. True, but I think kids who don't do any sports might argue that they don't have a chance for recognition on that.
They could.
So, which I'm glad they do highlight the academics.
Yeah, they could argue that.
Breaking news, Madison high school student tore their ACL walking to the debate stage. That's funny.
We have somebody, you're not going to remember who I'm talking about based off of me telling this story, but Neal knows her. She grew up in our neighborhood. Mm-hmm. She was a debate champion at Hillcrest High School, paid for her 4-year education at Boise State on debate.
Wow.
Then went on and did 2 different universities in Europe.
Yeah.
And she actually still lives in Europe. She married maybe a guy from Great Britain. I don't know.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he speaks English and it's not his, that's his given language, everything. I don't know where he's from. But her whole life was shaped by debate.
Yeah.
And by the way, she was a cheerleader. And she still did that.
Okay. I don't think our school had a debate club. That didn't stop me. I remember one time. Looking back now, I can see why the teacher did this, but they had a night where legislative candidates could come in. And there was one candidate from Power County that came in, and he was Democrat. And I got up and I asked him a question about abortion because I've always been pro-life. And he was really old school Democrat, and he's like, well, I always believed life began when you swatted the baby on the bottom and he took his first breath. Anyway, I started asking fairly aggressive follow-up questions, and the advisor shut that down real quick, would not let me keep going because it was getting, I didn't care, but it was getting a little awkward in the room. So
funny. I'm glad that he believed that. So that means it's true for everybody else. I always believed. Well, there's 17 and 18-year-olds that still believe in the mythical character around December 25th. And those, I don't want to ruin it for anybody. And they purposely believe because they've been told if they don't believe, they won't get those benefits that come on December 25th.
Yeah.
So just because you believe it.
You need to upgrade your firmware. Yeah. Okay, side conversation over.
Did you watch The Apprentice?
No.
I did.
Did you?
Yeah. Yeah, no. I get why it was as popular as it was.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I kind of understood the premise, but the only thing I remember, the cultural impact of "you're fired." That's all I remember.
Yeah.
So
it had enough. It was just ludicrous enough. Just enough.
Welcome back. It's 9:47 on News Talk 107. What are you laughing at over there? 208-542-1079 is the Stones Automotive Group call and text line. We'd love to hear from you. So, so Julie, we talked a little bit about this yesterday, but I think the issue has ripened just a little bit. This idea of financial assistance for the self-deportees in America. I'm all in. I mean, I understand in principle, why are we paying even more taxpayer money? Because they're illegal and they need to go back home. Because they're not going to go back home, many of them, if we don't help them get back home. Mm-hmm. So self-report, we'll pay for your plane ticket. I think it's up to $1,000. Do it through the CBP app. And when you go back home, then you can get in line to come back here the right way. For a lot of the illegals, that's a fairly attractive offer, I think.
I think it is. Can we pair this concept also with the fact that there was heavy reporting yesterday on Cinco de Mayo that there were certain cities who canceled all of their celebrations because they didn't want ICE to target.
Yeah.
And I say that with air quotes, target the celebrations.
Yeah.
Okay. You're perceived, you want me to feel bad?
I don't know why. That's a weird...
Do you want me to feel bad that they had to hide? I'm not going to feel bad that an illegal had to hide.
Don't be illegal.
Yes. And that's my thing with, we have enough heart. You're asking me to feel bad that they canceled their Cinco de Mayo celebration, but I'm pushing the boundaries too far to offer them, be kind, and offer them $1,000 plane ticket to get out of here. So they're not illegal anymore. Their concepts are so messed up.
Well, they are messed up. They are. And it's like, you're the one that's illegal.
Right. Right. And you get to decide where my compassion lies.
Right.
I'm supposed to be sad for them that they couldn't celebrate one day out of the year.
That's an odd thing. I hadn't seen that story. So that is kind of odd that they're canceling them. And my thought might be, well, if you're inviting illegals to your party, it might be a good idea to cancel it. Or
if you're allowing illegals to work on your farm.
That thought may have crossed my mind, but I didn't want to mention it. But now that you have, someone said this. I actually had this conversation with my daughter yesterday. Cinco de Mayo is a Mexican-American holiday, not Mexican.
Okay.
Is this, okay, can I ask a really offensive question? Not racially offensive.
Okay.
Except to white people. Okay. Is Cinco de Mayo one of those holidays that white people like to celebrate because they think they're being culturally sensitive by celebrating it, but it's not really celebrated by the core culture? I'm
sure there are some who do that. I'm sure. And then I think there's just a group of people that like to have tacos and guac.
Julie, we have the same brain. I just said any day is a good excuse to eat tacos and guac. So I'm all in on that. You don't. It's like, you know what? This is what it reminds me of. At the risk of getting struck down right now, you don't have to wait till Christmas to believe in Jesus or to be a Christian. I'm not going to say the rest, but I'm just saying. What?
I was thinking we should tell them what the text said about BYU, Idaho.
Okay.
So we were talking about education earlier, and somebody referred to BYU, Idaho as Jesus Tech.
Yeah.
I think Jesus might be happy about that. I think he'd be okay with it.
I think
he'd laugh a little bit at that.
Yeah, he might.
I think he would.
You're going to answer all the angry texts, though.
Okay, I'll take them.
And someone said, we are Irish once a year and we're Mexican once a year. That's all it is.
Look, and I love St. Patty's Day, and I open up everybody to celebrate, because why can't we have fun?
Yes, I would agree with that. Mm-hmm. I would agree. So
yeah.
I honestly don't know the rules around cultural appropriation. I really don't. I remember a story out of Utah. This girl wore a beautiful Japanese-themed prom dress.
Oh, yeah.
No Japanese people were offended by it, but a whole bunch of white liberals were.
Yes.
Culture. It was in the apex of everybody freaking out about anything.
I think
racial.
It was 2019, the Me Too movement and everything.
Yes,
and
we were upset.
We were just
on fire about everything.
Yeah.
Right. So I saw that. I actually don't think that would even be a story today. I think we're back to a point where if a very Utah-looking white girl wants to wear a beautiful dress that happens to have a Japanese theme to it, nobody cares.
We just don't get bothered by it anymore.
Yeah.
What a much healthier place to be.
It totally is. And now, look at me, Julie. Do I look like I have any Hispanic or Mexican blood in me?
Not at all.
Not at all. That's not going to stop me from enjoying tacos. And you know this about me. If I had to limit myself to one ethnicity of food for the rest of my life, no question about it, it would be Mexican food.
Same for me.
They have it down pat.
Same for me.
Yeah.
That's exactly how it would be. Yeah. I don't look, if you want to cancel your Cinco de Mayo celebration, you're just hurting the people around you. If you're the governor or the city mayor that canceled those celebrations, you're just a grumpa-bumpa-lump.
A grumpa-bumpa-lump.
Mm-hmm.
I like that term.
Yeah.
Is that really a term?
No, but I used to say that to my kids. I would look at them and I'd go, if you were a Care Bear, you'd be grumpa-bumpa-lump today.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to use that again.
Okay.
All right, it's 9:54. We'll be back. We'll wrap it up after this. Someone said, yeah, Neal, you may not have any Hispanic in you, but you do yard work. Okay. I don't know what that even means.
So can I say something about that?
Yeah.
When I am walking and people have yard services,
yeah,
the Hispanic gentlemen are so kind. They stop mowing and allow me to walk
really
on the sidewalk of whatever house they're working on. I get past and then they begin mowing again. It's very polite.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that no rocks or anything kick up. And
grass or the noise.
Yes, very nice
that
of
is
them.
Nice. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not me. I just keep on mowing.
If I'm walking in front of Neal's house. Hold on, let me run over the pine cones. Hold on.
Yeah.
Oh, yesterday when I left here, I was here forever last night doing a couple of We Share podcasts. But when I left and it was kind of drizzly, all the rock chucks were out down by the Eagle Fountain.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just rock chucks scattered on the grass eating something. I don't know what they eat. And does the rain bring it up? Do they eat worms?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't know what they were snacking on, but they were snacking on something in the grass.
That is weird. That's weird. Do we have another town and country?
Uh-huh.
Okay. We'll do that right now.
Okay. Usually the place that I see the rock chucks are as I'm walking further south at Snake River Landing, and I go on the sidewalk between the houses and the little man-made creek that they've made.
Yeah.
There's usually half a dozen rock chucks throughout there.
Really? Okay, so if we ever have a big interruption in the food supply, we have it back.
We have rock chucks.
Yeah. Would you if you had to?
Oh, yeah.
I would too.
Yeah. I could eat a rock chuck if I had to.
You might be able to make a good casserole.
Yeah.
We don't
Stew?
know. Yeah. Yeah. 9:57. Want to spend our last moment here talking, just for the show today, not like for our lifetimes, but want to talk about Town and Country Gardens. They have a great selection. Of course, we talk all the time about the you know what I did? You know what I did? I was on, once in a while, Julie, I get on Google Maps and I just start exploring the world. That's what you do when you're on a budget. So I get on Google Maps. I zoom in on my house, okay? And I don't mean to sound braggadocious. And it's been within the last couple of years, probably last summer. It is the greenest yard around. And I'm like, that right there is the 4-step lawn program from Town and Country Gardens.
I know we get paid to do this.
Yeah.
This is not hard to talk about. My grass is so much healthier, greener, lusher since the 4-step lawn program. I don't sure, Rex, I like that you pay me, but I would say it even if you didn't pay me. It's that good.
Yeah, it is really good. Super easy. Just show up. You walk in the front door. It's kind of in the next section over. You walk through the double doors. And on pallets there, and there's a little sheet that you get. It tells you exactly when to apply what, how much you need for your yard size. And you just put it down, water and mow like you normally would, and you're going to have a beautiful lush lawn. It's that easy. So, Town and Country Gardens, south of Idaho Falls on the Yellowstone Highway across from the Budweiser plant. All right, everyone, that's going to do it for the show today. Julie and I will be back tomorrow.
Okay, see you then.